What's up, fight fans? Today's news features UFC fighter reactions to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, Jon Jones blasting his critics on Twitter, Colby Covington calling out Conor McGregor, Charles Oliveira saying his striking is better than Justin Gaethje's, and Bryan Barberena's plans to retire. Welcome to Sportskeeda MMA's daily news roundup for March 28th. Hollywood actor Will Smith slapped comedian Chris Rock at the Oscars last night. Chris Rock had just finished making a joke about Smith's wife Jada, which prompted Smith to walk on stage, slap Rock, and walk right back to his seat, then screaming, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth." The viral moment sparked many reactions and differing opinions on whether it was staged or real, and some UFC personalities weighed in as well. Here are some of the reactions. Jon Jones said, "Anyone watching the Oscars? Will Smith is a gangster for that one. Chris Rock was the ultimate professional for the way he continued." UFC heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou tweeted this meme of the slap with a shrugging emoji. UFC President Dana White said this, "Finally, there's an Oscars show worth watching, and Chris Rock has a chin." Former UFC double champ Daniel Cormier said this, "Very hard to surprise me nowadays, but watching Will Smith slap the shit out of Chris Rock is very surprising. I'm actually amazed that this happened. You could see the moment Will started to feel played." Michael Bisping said this, "Chat shit, get banged." Bilal Muhammad took a shot at Colby Covington. "Colby and Chris Rock crying with each other, but it was just business." Cheeto Vera said, "Got better chin than most people." And as always, Sean Strickland had the strongest words to say. LMAO, if that was Colby Covington, he would have been on the phone calling 911 while trying to give Trump a handjob. Well played, Chris Rock. You took that shit like a man. You should catch him in the parking lot, LOL. Will Smith. This gets on stage after smacking a man in the face and starts crying while the crowd cheers. The backwards world are we living in? Liberal logic. Next time I smack a mother anger, I'm just gonna cry and talk about God. What was your reaction to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock? Jon Jones recently went at Dan Hooker and Brendan Schaub on Twitter. It started when Jones tweeted an article about the recent news that charges against CHAEL Sonnen have been refiled in connection with his Las Vegas hotel altercation last year. Dan Hooker, Brendan Schaub, is this what you guys are jumping down my throat about? Defending honor? This was also in response to Hooker tweeting this late last year. Imagine beating up 5 people and not one of them is your wife. And Brendan Schaub, who said this on a podcast last year, "God had nothing to do with you hitting your wife, my man." Dan Hooker fired back at Jones. "Explain how this makes you any less of a piece of shit." And Jones then compared his situation with Sonnen's. "Man, everyone and their mom covered my story when I was an asshole in Las Vegas. Sonnen allegedly attacks his wife, another woman, along with like 5 men, and crickets." The story in question is when Jones was arrested in Las Vegas and charged with misdemeanor battery domestic violence for allegedly pulling a woman's hair and headbutting a police car. The 26-1 Jon Jones has not competed in the UFC since his title defense against Dominic Reyes in 2020, but has been eyeing a debut at heavyweight, possibly for a title fight against current champ Francis Ngannou. When do you think Jon Jones will come back? Who will he fight? Colby Covington was recently a guest on the Full Send podcast and made his first social media post since the Poppy Steak ambush by Jorge Masvidal. For those who don't know, the incident resulted in Jorge Masvidal's arrest and charges of battery and criminal mischief. Masvidal was since released after posting bail. Conor McGregor recently hinted at coming back from his compound fracture injury by waltzing right into a title shot, and he said he wants Kamaru Usman. Covington had a few words to say about that. "I think he's just probably trying to talk himself up and get himself hyped up, but he's not going to come over here and fight real men in a real man's weight class. He's a great fighter. He's done good business for himself, and he definitely holds a lot of L's over Dustin Poirier still. But if you're talking about 170, that's not his weight class." Colby was then asked if he would fight Conor and said this, "I mean, I would, but he's not going to fight someone where he knows there's 0% chance to win, because there's no luck factor, like he can't even hit lightning in a bottle. Realistically, I beat that guy 10 out of 10 times. We're talking statistics, and life's all about numbers." McGregor's last win was a 40-second TKO over Cowboy Cerrone at UFC 246 and is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, dating back to 2016. Covington is coming off a unanimous decision win over Jorge Masvidal at UFC 272 and improved to 17-3, and has since called out Dustin Poirier and middleweight champ Israel Adesanya. Is there any possibility a McGregor versus Covington matchup would happen? Charles Oliveira recently spoke about his upcoming title defense against Justin Gaethje at UFC 274. Oliveira is set to make his second title defense after a hard-fought win over Dustin Poirier at UFC 269. He is now 32-8 in MMA and is currently riding a 10-fight win streak. In a recent interview with AG Fight, Oliveira said this, Everyone's saying, you have to take him down, you have to worry. I'm not worried about taking him down, brother. I have no worries, really. I believe so much in my firepower. I have firepower in my hands, and I've been showing it. I've been evolving. We won a very important fight against Dustin Poirier. Do you think we were celebrating and joking? No. We sit down and analyze what I did or didn't do wrong. Justin Gaethje gave his side of the striking dilemma and said this: at the end of the day, if my striking isn't better than his, I'm say. That's where I'm great. I'm great at creating pressure, creating damage, and stopping takedowns. So ultimately, he is going to be trying to get it to the ground because I'm going to find so much success in the striking department. He is incredibly dangerous in the striking department. His knees, his elbows, his ability to create pressure, control distance, second to none. But I better be better, or I'm going to be in a world of trouble. The 23-3 Justin Gaethje is coming off a Fight of the Year contender against Michael Chandler, earning him the second title shot of his career. Gaethje held the interim belt, then losing it to Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 254. Do you think Charles Oliveira could outstrike Justin Gaethje? And last but not least, Bryan Barberena, who won Fight of the Night honors after his slugfest with UFC veteran Matt Brown, recently revealed that he fought out the remainder of his contract. Barberena is 17-8 in MMA, with 13 of those fights within the UFC. He noted that if the UFC would not open contract negotiations, that he would retire. He had this to say in his post-fight interview: "Me and my wife talked about this a lot. UFC, this is where I want to be. So it was the goal the whole time. I'm excited. I love being here. They treat me well. I love being in front of these fans. It's the biggest organization out there, the best organization out there as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? If they don't want me to come out and put on shows anymore, I'll hang them up. And I'll go spend my days at the farm with family and work on building that." Barberena's win over Matt Brown generated boos from the UFC Columbus crowd, as Brown was the hometown favorite. That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA's daily news roundup. Here is one final question for you fight fans. What was your favorite fight from UFC Columbus last Saturday? Which upcoming fight are you looking forward to the most? Don't forget to subscribe and follow Sportskeeda MMA on all our social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in.